Hello number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. If I tell you the name Dr. Ammon Hillman, what comes to mind? Dr. Ammon Hillman is a classicist and a translator of ancient Greek, among other things, and he has been, in fact, quite controversial online recently, mostly for what I understand, due to his appearance on a very popular podcast, the one aired by Danny Jones, who is a very successful content creator. He has 1 million subscribers, and as he describes himself, the Danny Jones podcast exists to bring fringe cultures to a wide audience through thoughtful storytelling and beautiful cinematography, from commercial grouper fishing to multi-million-dollar real estate deals and weekly conversations ranging from what it's like to survive Brazilian death camps to robbing pill mills with a hypodermic needle. There is no subject off limits. And this part at the end, there is no subject off limits, is probably why they decided to invite Ammon Hillman, exploring the boundaries of free thinking. Hey, I'm all for free thinking. Do check it out if you want. They have a lot of guests. Goodness gracious, how is he dressed up there? There are two specific episodes that I would like to focus your attention on. And it's this one here, Ancient Language Expert, Jesus Christ used. But this one here has got 1.9 million views and it's 3 hours, 26 minutes and 10 seconds long. I am planning on making a full response video. We are watching it with the entire team, but this is going to take some time because the statements that he makes, I would like to underline. I disagree with the translation statements made by Dr. Ammon Hillman, but I do recognize his incredible expertise. The guy has got 30 years of experience in translating ancient Greek. I don't respect what he says, but I do respect him from an academic standpoint. So this video is in the making, but it's gonna take some time. In the meantime, I wanted to discuss this episode here titled Antichrist versus Exorcist Debate. Who is the real Christ? Ammon Hillman and Bob Larson. So of course we already know who Ammon Hillman is, and when it comes to Bob Larson, it's this gentleman here, and he is a Catholic priest, specifically an exorcist. The way I understand this, we can read here, PhD classicist Ammon Hillman debates exorcist Bob Larson on the Bible, ancient Greek, and Jesus Christ. I wanted to watch this with you, offer my commentary. I've already watched it once, so this is the second time that I'm watching it. I'm going to skip this entire introduction here because it simply doesn't have anything to do with the topic at hand, and we will begin by this section, which is called Ammon Confronts Bob. Let's go.
I want to ask you if you think, based on everything you've learned about Ammon and listening to the podcast, do you think that he is truly possessed by a demon?
Unquestionably. Unquestionably. I can't see his face. That's the only problem because of these lights here, but that's okay.
Can you put some light on my face?
I can't.
Am I going to look like trash in this?
No,
or
you
what?
look great. Can you show a picture of Ammon on the camera?
I can't see past his shirt.
There we go. Go to the solo. Go to the solo on.
Look,
He's such a troll. Again, Ammon Hillman, I respect his expertise, but he's such a troll. Look what he's wearing.
I have a glow.
Look at he looks gorgeous.
Oh my God. If you can't get in with that,
he's got a
something's
sheen.
wrong with you, baby.
He wore that shirt for me today, and he knows it.
I did. Do you know who this is?
Now you tell me.
That shirt?
No, that's okay. I'm not your.
I mean
your
the
tour
shirt
guide.
on the outside.
I'm not your tour guide.
He's
I
talking
have
about
a
this one.
question. I have a question from the devil.
Right from the
devil keeps telling me, Bob, he keeps telling me, yeah, but the problem is Bob has never read the Bible. I tell all my seminarian students when I was teaching at a seminary, I told all of them the first day of class, I said...
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Put that right there.
Oh, is this a hearing device?
Yeah,
Sorry,
he has
Bob.
trouble. No.
Sorry. I tell my seminary students the first day of class, you've never read the Bible, and they all give me a dirty look, Bob.
Well, I know where you're going
They all
with this.
give me a dirty look. Well, let me go there.
Well,
I'm a classical philologist.
Why go there?
You should let him go there. That's how a debate functions. I want to underline this. I am a Christian. So, of course, when it comes to the statements that he says, I do have a Christian bias. With that being said, just because I'm a Christian, it doesn't mean that I'm going to give him a pass whenever he does something that I believe to be intellectually dishonest. So right now, that's how a debate works. You let the interlocutor, your intellectual opponent, present his points, and if the arguments are valid, you engage with them. If the arguments are fallacies, you call out the fallacies. But you have to let him finish the point.
I know
Bob,
where
this
you're
is
going.
why the Harvard people and they all give me a dirty look, Bob.
Well, I know where you're going
They all
with this.
give me a dirty look. Well, let me go there.
Well,
I'm a classical philologist.
Why go there? I know
Bob,
where you're
this
going.
is why the Harvard people won't come. I am a classical philologist.
I know what you are. Watch the videos.
And you have never read the Bible. Tell me what a Christ is.
Okay.
What is a Christ?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Because you don't know,
No,
Bob.
no. Wait a minute.
What is a Christ?
Wait a minute. I did not agree.
How is he supposed to believe? If you don't know what a
did
Christ
not
is, or what
agree.
Of course, the question that he's asking here is linguistic. He's asking specifically for I imagine, literal translation, and maybe afterwards a contextual translation and analysis. That's what I would do of the original term for Christ in Greek. And of course, when he tells him defiantly, you have never read the Bible, he means you have never read it in the original language, which, according to one of the main statements that are controversial, of course, made by Dr. Hillman, he believes that the Bible was originally written in Greek and that the Hebrew is a product of translation. I disagree, but I'm not going to address that here because, again, I respect the intellect, so I need to build our counter as a team. That's where he was trying to go with this.
gospel is? That's why the people at Harvard
And
wouldn't
I
come.
will either get up and walk out of here.
Okay,
goodness,
why? Because
dude.
cowardice. If I am possessed,
Let's be
You
respectful.
should not.
Let's be respectful.
No,
and
he
debate
just-
the text.
No,
Okay,
no, he's
okay,
not.
We gotta be nice to each
Okay,
other.
I'm
We gotta be
sorry.
nice. That's the
I'm
only.
sorry.
That's the only way this is
We
gonna.
do
This is
have
gonna
to-
happen.
That's unfortunately a second point that I'm going to detract from. Maybe you'll gain points back later, but that's the second point I'm going to detract from Father here because it feels controlling and manipulative to threaten to leave a debate. Then why did you accept in the first place? If I were to accept any debate invitation, not that I'm a big shot guy, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be condescending or arrogant here, but I'm saying hypothetically, if I were to agree to sit down to a debate, I will stay there until the very end, even if the opponent doesn't follow a line of decency. And up to this point, I don't think it... Well, yeah, he called him a coward. He could have avoided that. But then again, why are you threatening to leave after 1 minute, 60 seconds?
Understood.
Okay.
Now,
So let's just discuss the
Yes.
facts, the texts, and everything we're here to
Okay,
discuss.
fine.
And let's not call each other names or be rude.
Thank you, Dave.
Right.
Okay. Is that
That's
okay,
good.
Bob?
That's good.
I was thinking as I stepped out of the room a moment ago that it would be a good idea. Where are you in New Mexico?
I'm in Taos, New Mexico.
Taos.
Right.
Of course, why not? The New
right
Age
off
capital of New Mexico.
Right off of. No. I'm not into any hippie stuff. I can't stand hippies.
Okay, all right.
I've been
I would
studying
suggest-
Greek and the Bible for the last 35 years. That's
I-
what
I
I
know
want
what
to talk
you've done.
about. I
I
want
know.
to talk about the Bible.
let
I
Bob
just would like to suggest
Yes.
that to really have a candid conversation, no cameras. You
What?
get in your car and drive down to Phoenix,
Yeah, but that makes you look like a coward.
and I
Yeah, tune it down, Hilman, please.
will be happy to spend time with you. Normally, we ask for a donation to help cover my
Of
staffing
course,
and
because you're greedy,
facilities.
Bob. It's flim flam.
But
You got to be nice. Listen.
I will
God,
be
you
happy.
Oh God!
I will be
Put
happy.
the devil back.
I will be happy to provide you with a complimentary exorcism session.
No, thank you. I
But
don't
it-
have a
but-
demon,
but
Bob.
wait a minute.
I wanted to talk about the Bible. I don't.
That's why I was saying he's trolling when he does the whole demon thing. He's clearly trolling. The shirt is trolling. He's offering an exorcism. He says complimentary, but he wants to be paid for that. That's so strange that the priest would say this in this case.
I don't have a demon. I'm
Which
not
would
here.
be-
First of all,
to talk
wait.
about a
We
demon.
have to appreciate the fact that Bob is the only one
Yeah.
who has the balls to come in here and talk to you.
Oh, that's kudos. Big balls.
No one else
Yeah.
can do it.
Kudos. Nobody, Bob. And this was Harvard
Okay,
people.
okay,
This
so-
was Harvard.
Hang on, let him go, let him
Who
go.
else?
But
Tell
you're
him.
not letting me talk.
Let him talk.
You're
Please,
not
go
letting
ahead,
me.
go ahead.
You're not. You're trying to control the agenda. So
No, that's
just
why
let,
I'm here.
Let me finish speaking.
Of course, that could be said back to the priest in this case, because he's also trying to control the agenda. Up to this point, Hilman, he was disrespectful a couple of times, but he did say, I have a question, I want to talk about the Bible, and you are not letting him do that. So now you feel more controlling.
Where it's just you and me, and maybe a ministry associate there with me, and that we have a candid conversation about you and your life and your beliefs, and I'm very happy to do that. But that would have to be in a setting where there's transparency and honesty, and we can have an exchange without playing to the galleries.
Yes, definitely. That's a great, wonderful idea. If I were demon possessed, Bob, but I'm not demon possessed, and I don't need your spiritual help. I was coming to you as one former man of God to another person who appreciates the Bible, Bob. And I just want to know, please tell me, why was Jesus arrested?
This is the reason I didn't want you around in this room when I talked with him, is because you're a control freak trying to get the upper hand on everything. So just be a human.
One answer. That's the only question I'll ask you.
Just talk to me. That's it. Talk to me as a human being.
Just ask him kindly what your question is.
Do you think
as a human being?
When Jesus was arrested in Gethsemane with a naked kid screaming, "I'm not a child."
We know what you think about. Okay.
Could it be that he was actually?
I'm about 30 seconds from walking out of here.
We have to take turns.
It's the second threat, of course, to leave. I do believe that Dr. Hillman's statements that he just made now, insinuation about Jesus and the child and all that, I think that's all complete, utter nonsense. But obviously you could tell me, well, yeah, okay, Metatron, but you need to prove it. Absolutely. Working on it. But I wouldn't walk out. He can say whatever he wants. That's freedom. He can say whatever he wants, and then I will respond if I'm prepared. Now, everything that we have been talking about up to this point is impressive, but here's the thing. On this channel, oftentimes we focus on how civilizations were in the past. But here's the thing. What happens if current civilization become the past? What happens if a civilization reaches its end? Would we, as the survivors, know how to build it back up? Well, the answer comes from today's sponsor, but man, I'm excited. You know, it's a book, but this is not any book. I mean, look at this. That's unboxing. Personally, I really love the blend of survival skills, history and science all put together in this wonderfully illustrated volume that presents all of this information in an easy language that it's simple to understand. Have fun reading something interesting as a form of entertainment, but at the same time you're actually learning valuable practical skills that unfortunately a lot of us don't really have. Now, given you could spend time trying to look for each and every single one of these, but it's all perfectly encapsulated into a beautiful book that is going to also decorate your living room. Just put it in the center of the coffee table. That's where I'm going to keep this one, right here in my office. If any of this sounds interesting, get your copy today, and you will also be supporting my channel in doing so. And you'll be able to order your copy through my link in the description or in the pinned comment. So make sure you click the link in the description and get your copy today. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask the question, and then we have to stop, and we have to let Bob give his response.
That's reasonable.
Okay,
when Jesus Christ was arrested in Gethsemane at 4 a.m. with a naked boy screaming, "I am not a child," or leistes in Greek, could it actually...
Not the only translation for that word.
...actually be, Bob, that he was doing creepy things?
Bob, the stage is yours.
Are you suggesting that Christ was a pedophile?
No, I'm saying...
Are you saying that he was a pedophile?
No,
Are you
I'm saying
that?
The text says that Jesus
Christ...
Are
you saying that...
Oh, goodness gracious. Just say no, Bob Larson. That's how you answer that. You don't try to do this flipping of the thing. Are you daring to say, yes, he's saying that? So just say no, and then provide a intellectual and possibly linguistic, but since you're a man of faith, like me, you can also present a doctrinal reason for it. You can share your testimony. You can do all of this. It would be a lot better to actually go into the linguistic secular aspect of it, since that's the foundation of Dr. Hillman's positions. So I think that would be much better. But are you saying, just say no?
Christ was a based upon what you think the text said.
I think what he's saying is no. He doesn't believe that he's not stating his own beliefs. What he's saying is he's repeating.
I'm not interested in arguments. I'm saying the text. I want the real Jesus.
That when Jesus was intellectual dishonesty, and you know it, and you're not going to overpower me the way you normally do people. It's no wonder nobody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So if
I would want to talk to him,
if you are suggesting in any way, shape, or form on any evidentiary basis that you have in your mind
Yeah.
that Christ did that, there's no dialogue that we can have.
Well, so
I
let's
still...
not- yeah.
Why? This makes it sound, I'm not trying to create a straw man here with the priest, but I'm saying this. If for you, you're unable to have a dialogue with someone who states something that you don't believe, then you cannot have dialogues unless the person you're talking to believes the same as you do. That's not what a debate is. And do keep in mind that they're both being paid, by the way, by the host. I believe the priest is receiving $5,000 to be here, and I have no reason to believe that $5,000 weren't also offered equally to Dr. Hillman to be present in this. And of course, that's an excellent move by Danny Jones, because with the views they're going to get through this episode, and maybe there is even a sponsors, they will make a lot more money. So that's going to be seed money, and that was economically viable for them. With money on the table, you are agreeing for a service. The service is you'll engage with someone in a debate. And in order to engage with someone in a debate, you need to acknowledge the fact and their freedom to state something that you disagree with, so then you can start defending your points, attacking your opponent's arguments. That's what a discussion, conversation, debate is, particularly in this context. I think we can all agree that with that, atheists, Christians, agnostics, Buddhists, anyone watching here, I think we can all agree with that. But considering the fact that you're both being paid to do it, definitely the priest is being paid to do it. I really fail to understand this. Oh, if you say something that I disagree with, we can't have a discussion. I'm sorry, you're changing the definition of discussion then.
I'm still willing to meet with you in private, where there's no need for you to have to play to an audience, and no need for me to prove anything to anybody.
Have you read this, Bob? Have you actually read the Bible?
Okay, you're just a broken record.
No. I want to talk about
You do not
the text.
possess the... You honestly don't possess the intellectual latitude to move outside of a predetermined frame of reference where you can beat your drum, and I'm not going to buy into that, okay? You're not...
Is that me or the
Ammon,
demon?
You're
why
not...
Is that me or the demon? Oh, he cracks me up. You know what, Ammon Hillman, you need to face an angel. That's what you need to do. I have to say it. Father Larson seems to be projecting here because he's the one who's trying to control the narrative. I'm just being honest, guys. I just tell it how it is, whether I like it or not, and I don't like it. I am on the side of the Christian, but I just have to say, for intellectual honesty, I have to say it for how I see it.
Why are you questioning whether or not Bob has read the Bible?
Because
what do you think?
Because
if there's something, if there's possible that he missed something, what do you think that is?
You know, because Bob does what Bible scholars always do, and New Testament theologians, divinity degrees, they don't have access to that ground-based material.
And you're referring to the original sources.
To the philology. They don't have access to the text,
Well,
right?
what
When
we
you
have
talk
here-
about-
Okay, hold on.
What we have here is you against the world, you against 2,000 years of church history.
Fallacy of authority. He's doing the fallacy where he says there are authorities that disagree with you, and therefore your point is null and it's invalid. Once again, it's a logical fallacy.
You against the most esteemed scholars in the world, and quite frankly, I don't think you match up, and I'm not willing to have that debate because it's a dishonest debate.
What's a Christ?
In
Can you
my
just tell me
opinion.
that?
Okay. No, I know where you're going with that, and there's no point.
Why,
of
Bob? You
translation
tell,
you're
you
asking
tell
about
everybody
the-
what a Christ is. You
So-
just converted this man.
Just tell me.
What is a Christ?
If he doesn't match up, Father Larson, then it should be a walk in the park for you to dismantle his positions and theories. You just quoted a lot of esteemed scholars that I imagine you have studied deeply. Dismantle it. That's why I said at the beginning of this video, I respect Dr. Hillman's expertise. I don't respect the statements he makes about Christ, but I do respect his intellectual and academic preparation and his education. And to question that puts you in this paradox, because you cannot state, oh, you're no one, you're nothing compared to the scholars, and you don't match up intellectually, but then you refuse to address his points. You can't have the cake and eat it too.
No, we didn't convert him. What we did was to nudge him along the pathway.
I just
Yes.
gave up. I just gave myself to Christ.
Hey, that's good news. Welcome, brother.
What is
I'm
Christ
open,
saying?
I'm
You
open
did
my
give
heart
a
to Christ.
measure of your life to Christ, and that is a great step to take.
So Ammon
Now-
told me, and 2 million people on my podcast, most of which believe what he is saying, because we have no way of discerning whether he's lying or not. We have no
Right.
way of finding out reading these texts. But the way Ammon described it to us, and there's millions of views on this stuff, that the word Christ in ancient Greek, the first time the word Christ was ever used in the history of humanity was for somebody that was using drugs.
Okay, well, that's the gospel according to Ammon.
No, not the
So-
gospel. He's talking about text earlier.
That's the gospel according to him.
He didn't mean it literally, Danny Jones. He's basically saying, like, you have the gospel according to Matthew, the gospel according to John. He's now saying, using the same title, to say that's the gospel according to Ammon, in the sense that he's calling it for BS. He's saying it's nonsense and it's his own personal interpretation and gospel. That's what he means.
That's what I'm saying. All right.
No, that was Diodorus of
So-
Sicily.
So
They thought it was so
we're
silly.
going to discard the canonization of Scripture, all the councils of the church that have been held throughout the ages, at great time, effort, and intellectual energy to go through all of these issues over and over again. And we're just going to, because of this guy, throw them out the window and say they don't matter anymore because I am the Greek scholar who knows the truth.
I don't think we need
I
to
don't
throw
buy that.
anything out the window.
No,
All
no,
I'm
well,
looking
yes,
for,
Yes, we are.
I'm not personally, and I know you're not.
but he is.
I don't think.
But
I
he
think it's
is.
okay that he is.
Of course it's okay that it is freedom. Absolutely.
I think it's okay that he is, but I
And
don't
he's-
think.
he's entitled to have his position.
Of course, as so are you, and
Okay,
so am I.
fine.
But
And-
my goal here
and-
is to just have a dialogue. No one's willing to have this dialogue, and I think it's freaking incredible that we're able to have
not
this dialogue.
having a dialogue. We're not
We're-
having
we're
a
attempting
dialogue.
to have a dialogue here.
because he is stuck like a politician on talking points, and he is going to stay there and not move off of that to do.
There is a solution. There is a solution. It's to address the points. Address the talking points. Doesn't matter if it's a politician, doesn't matter if it's a historian, a professor. Anyone can choose their talking points. That's what they prepared. That's what they want to discuss. That's where they feel strong. And then you address them. You come prepared. And at that point, it will be up to the audience, because even if you address them, it is very likely that someone like Dr. Hillman might reject the way you address them or your arguments. Or maybe he will change his mind. I highly doubt it. But these two things can happen, right, during a debate. You could say something about one of the points, and the other person may say, if they are intellectually honest, you know, you do have a point. You do have a point. You can do that. They could also say, you do have a point, but I still think what you're saying, your counter argument makes sense, but this is why I still believe that I've got it right. And then they counter it. And then it goes back and forth. Or they could say, no, what you say is completely wrong, utter nonsense, and here's why. Then you do back and forth a little bit, and then the audience will use their own critical thinking together with their personal background. Some may be linguists, some may be theologians, others may be scientists. They use their own mind to decide, I heard both sides on these specific talking points, and then your own talking points. Get back to that in a second. This is what I believe. I think the priest was right, or I think Dr. Ammon was right. And that's that. But then you get to present your own points in a debate, the ones that you prepare, that you feel you're strong. Then you present them. And imagine if I prepared a point about theory of translation, which is how I would address this, by the way. And then I present my point, and Dr. Ammon refuses to address it. And he keeps saying, like, you're trying to control. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to let you do this. I'm not going to let you overpower me. Then I would personally say I'm winning this argument, because why is he not addressing it? And imagine if I present this good, structured analysis of how theory of translation should be done. And then he tells me, no, who do you think you are? You don't have the intellectual latitude. You're not at the same level as these other people that did this. If he did that, which would be you mirrored, then I would say, okay, I win. I win because he never went there. It means that he didn't have the strength intellectually to address my points. That's how it works.
Deal with the larger realm of church history, the Hebrew scriptures, as well as the Septuagint.
Do
which
you
he
read the
disdains.
Septuagint, Bob?
And so, as a result
The answer is no.
of that, he's got a couple of basic talking points, and he's just going to keep throwing those out there over and over and over.
Do you actually read the Septuagint,
which is
Bob?
intellectually dishonest.
Do you read the Bible?
What I would
or the
like,
Septuagint?
what I would like.
I know you're going to get up and leave because you're a coward. But the devil asked me to ask you,
Okay.
have you actually read the Septuagint?
If I hear one more ad hominem argument, this
Who
is
do you
over.
think you are?
Okay.
You want to walk out? Take the money and walk. Take it and walk. You're a coward. You don't read these texts, and people just like you are afraid. The head of Dallas Theological Seminary's Greek program wouldn't come here, Bob, and sit where you are.
May I
because
ask a
none
question?
of you actually reads ancient Greek.
May I?
You know, that is a good point, the linguistic one. And I say that as someone who has read several ancient books in many languages, and I do speak several languages, as you guys know. And sometimes, even when we're discussing, for example, aspects of Japanese history, it is true that sometimes people make statements, but then they don't understand the kanji, they don't understand the syntactic or even cultural connections, because language is an expression of culture. And so if you don't know the language, oftentimes you'll miss some cultural elements. And then I do bring them in and say, yeah, but you didn't read this in the original language. This is what they say. We do that with Latin with the team. We did that with Akkadian. So the point that he's bringing is strong. What he should say, I think, in this opinion, if he wants to maintain it on a position of faith, he should say, even if you don't read the original scripture, the scriptures in the original languages, whether it be Greek for the New Testament, whether it be Hebrew for the Old Testament, or Greek from the position of Dr. Ammon, you can still 100% achieve salvation, because the gospel is simple to understand, but the depth of the scriptures is extremely complex. The Bible is both. Scripture is both. You have an easy layer, which is the most important, at least for people of faith. At least do let me say this, even if you're an atheist, at least you hear my point. But then from a linguistic and cultural perspective, it goes really deep. So you should admit it. You should say, hey, which passage do you want me to discuss? Then he'll say a passage, and then you can say, if you're intellectually honest, since you're accusing him of being intellectually dishonest, you should say, I didn't read it in the original language, but this is how I interpret it, and this is how I live it. So on the faith aspect of it, you don't need to know the original language. On the linguistic cultural analysis aspect of it, the more you do, the better. So the position that Dr. Ammon is presenting is strong, and in order to address it, you have to come prepared from a linguistic perspective, unless you want to flip it and talk about the religion aspect of it. But he's not doing either. I would have at least respected if he did one of the two paths.
I ask a question?
Yes, it's your turn. It's your turn.
You are a self-confessed former Christian.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
you were born again.
Definitely.
Huh?
Definitely.
Okay. And then at some point, you walked away from that.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay.
You're
okay.
right.
Now, without trying to make it sound like Greek and Hebrew had you walk away from it, can you tell me what that negative epiphany was?
Yes, it was Aristotle's pure muse. It was that genius. It was that genius in the Greek, which is far harder. If you studied any, you know that Greek is capacity that English will never achieve.
We've all heard this before from you.
Yeah, let him answer, though. You ask a question, that's his answer.
I want to know from a personal
That's
standpoint.
what turned me. The beauty in that,
That's
Bob.
it. That's what you claim as an intellectual vortex, but I want to know what the practical decision was based on to walk away from your faith and to deny Christ to the extent to which you have. So, to call it a file, how did you get from here to here? I just want to know.
Wait, what's the plan?
Sounds like he's trying to fish an answer that he has preconceived, and he will keep hammering until Ammon gives him the answer that he wants, so then he can counter that answer. That's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong, though.
I'm doing?
How did you get from your original view of Christ
Yeah.
to the about Christ?
Oh, that took years of study. I wrote in a book, Bob, The Chemical Muse that I published, I wrote in that book that Hebrew was the original language of the Greek. Of the Old Testament, just like everybody else says. Right?
I
Just
see.
like any panel scholars would tell you. I wrote that in a book. Why? because it was not until I actually read and reread
and
worked with those sources until I realized, oh my God, this thing is not a translation. This is gorgeous, perfect Greek.
Okay.
And it's precise,
Okay,
right? Now, it's only
we've heard all this before on his show.
Yeah.
So, who published that book?
the Septuagint.
No, the book that you just referred to that you wrote.
Septuagint.
Oh, no. He's talking about the Chemical Muse. You're talking about the Chemical Muse, the book that he published?
Yeah. Who published that book?
Who published Chemical Muse? Was it Macmillan?
It's Macmillan now, but originally it's Saint James. No, what's his name? It's a saint.
What was the name of the publisher?
Yeah, I'll think of it. Oh, God.
Steve, Google it.
Thomas Dunn Books and
Thomas
St. Martin's. St. Martin's
Okay.
Press.
St. Martin's Press.
Yes.
Okay. Just curious. No.
Why is that relevant, though?
Well,
Yeah, why is it relevant?
it's very relevant.
I'm curious.
Because that's not a respected Christian publisher.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know what you're trying to do, Bob Larson, but this will get the public against you. And by connection, against the Christian side. Not a good asset, I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. It's a constant establishment of fallacy over fallacy. It's not a well-respected Christian publisher. There are a lot of well-respected non-Christian publishers, for instance. But still, like, what does that have anything to do with 35 years of translation experience that this man has? You cannot deny that. You can deny his attacks on Christ. In fact, I expect you to. You're a priest. I would do it, and I'm not a priest. But why are you denying? You should recognize this man's expertise. You're doing character assassination now. It's another fallacy.
It's a publisher that puts out a lot of crazy stuff out there.
I wasn't trying to target
I'm
a
just
Christian
saying
audience, so
that-
it was just general.
There was no...
All right, so this is very long already. We are over half an hour in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to suspend the commentary session now, so that the video is not an hour long. But I will post part 2 tomorrow. So if you like this and you're interested and you want to continue this commentary, also because it will get wild towards the end, then absolutely come back tomorrow and we will continue this session of commentary. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.